To maintain the ceremony's decorum, would you please switch off your mobile phones? For safety reasons, please do not enter the galleries upstairs or sit on the steps in the balcony area. In the event of an emergency, please follow the instructions of the security officers and the ushers. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession. And remain standing for the Australian National Anthem. You are encouraged to join in the singing. The text of the anthem is printed on page 3 of your program.
I, Robert Murray Hill, Chancellor of the University of Adelaide, declare this congregation to be in session. Distinguished guests, parents, relatives, friends and especially graduates, welcome to the University of Adelaide's graduation ceremony. I wish to acknowledge the Kaurna people, the original custodians of the Adelaide Plains, and the land on which the University of Adelaide's campuses at North Terrace, Waite, Theberton and Roseworthy are built. Graduates, your graduation is an event in which you and your family and friends can take great pride. It's also a source of pride and satisfaction for the University of Adelaide. Graduation Day is an opportunity for you to reflect both on the past and on the future. This may well be a very significant change in direction in your life. Whatever directions your life may take, the skills that you've acquired and developed here will stand you in good stead, not only in your working and professional life, but in life generally. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today's graduation speaker, Professor Nicholas Jose, Professor of English and Creative Writing in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at the University of Adelaide. Professor Jose is a novelist, essayist and playwright. After gaining his doctorate at Oxford University, he taught in the Department of English at the Australian National University. His monograph, Ideas of the Restoration of English Literature, was published in 1984. Professor Jose taught in China and served as cultural counsellor in the Australian Embassy in Beijing. A full-time writer from 1991, he resumed his academic career as Chair of Creative Writing at Adelaide University in 2005. A past president of International PEN Sydney, he is General Editor of the Macquarie PEN Anthology of Australian Literature, which is internationally published as The Literature of Australia. He was visiting chair of the Australian Studies at Harvard University 2009 to 2010 and taught there again in 2011. We're privileged to hear him speak today. Please welcome Professor Nicholas Jose.
Thank you, Chancellor, for that kind welcome. Vice-Chancellor and President, academic colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, all the graduates of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences gathered here today. It's an honour to be invited to speak to you. A graduation ceremony is an occasion to celebrate, and the most important thing I have to say today is simply to each graduate, congratulations, you've done it. Today's ceremony acknowledges that you have learned, bachelored, mastered, doctored a significant body of knowledge in the disciplines you have pursued. You have critiqued the knowledge of others, and you've created your own knowledge. In doing so, you prepare yourself as a member of your communities and as a citizen of the world. You're ready to step into your future, which is a future we all share. Today marks a significant personal milestone as you receive your degree after years of hard work and intellectual challenge. You have the excitement and the hope of looking ahead to the next stage of your lives. Let me extend these congratulations to your families, friends, and supporters, and to all those who have worked with you at the university. You wouldn't have done it without them, and they're entitled to bask in your glory too. You're graduating in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, which I'd like to abbreviate today to the Human Sciences, since that goes to the core of what we do as we study our diverse humanity and all the societies that it creates. At Harvard, the eminent cultural theorist Homi Bhabha, who is director of the Humanities Centre there, liked to introduce things with his vision of the human sciences as the crossroads of the university, where the meaning of everything else the university does is explored in the largest human and social context. He would say to the audience, too, that without your participation, that crossroads would be empty and silent. It's gathering and debating together that give those big questions their meaning and shape. Here at the University of Adelaide, we're blessed with a situation where the human sciences really are at the crossroads of the university. As you cross North Terrace at Pulteney Street, you pass the professions and law as you approach the Humanities and Social Sciences faculty office. If you come up from Frome Road and the medical area, you pass engineering, and then you hear the sounds of the music school, and you run into people from all the university's different areas of activity in a wonderful set of intersections and encounters on your way to humanities and social sciences. In your time as students, you've experienced the creation of Hub Central, which gives such connections a new physical form that through its electronic communication capacities connects to a wide world of learning and exchange. We're fortunate in our location. The university is embedded in a city that is itself a creative hub and cultural laboratory, including broadly such areas as the research and practice cultures of health, science, agriculture, viticulture, and the ecologies and economies of how we live. To speak of a hub is also to imagine its spokes, reaching out to the world through active and beneficial partnerships. As new graduates, you become those spokes, moving out from the hub of the expertise you've developed here. One of this university's Nobel Prize winners, Lord Howard Florey, says of his breakthrough moment in developing penicillin, "This is the sort of thing that only happens to you once in a life." You'll recognise that quote from the glass wall of Hub Central, and I suggest after this you go down and have yourself photographed in front of it. But things have also changed since Florey's day. Nowadays, you might have to be ready for that life-changing moment to happen more than once. That's what your education prepares you for. As you've heard, my own story has its twists and turns. It's taken me in and out of academic life, from Canberra to Oxford, Beijing and Delhi to Borroloola in the Northern Territory, Sydney and Harvard. I've combined my own creative writing with working to enable the creative expressions of others in many different contexts. And I found myself doing things I would never have imagined myself doing. I went to China in 1986, for example, to write a novel. But after teaching at universities there, I was offered the job of cultural counsellor at the Australian Embassy. It was 1988, and I suddenly found myself negotiating the loan of the 2 giant pandas that were part of China's contribution to Australia's bicentenary. The embassy couldn't afford an interpreter, so I would go by myself to the Ministry of Forestry to discuss the complex financing arrangements in some very large Chinese numbers. And if you know Chinese, you'll know that it's easy to make a mistake of a few decimal points. I wonder if Wang Wang and Fu Ni here in the Adelaide Zoo are related to that earlier couple. In any case, the pandas seem to be following me around. That same year, I also had to organise a tour to China of Australian Test cricket stars. There was no cricket in China, but that didn't stop them wanting to come. I had to arrange for a team of men's hockey players from the Beijing Institute of Sport to learn this peculiar new game. We had the rules of cricket translated. I forget the Chinese for silly mid-on, but then I had to umpire the match. which turned out to be a diplomatic draw, thank goodness. I also found myself at Tiananmen in 1989 and was a witness to history. You never know what is going to happen. If you look back to when you started at university, you'll surely be impressed at how far you have come. The capacity to learn and grow is a great human resource, an inner journey that we can make with the help of others into new knowledge without bounds. The common thread in my lifelong learning has been writing and my concern for people to be able to express themselves effectively and to be heard with understanding. The power to communicate, the capacity and the right is fundamental to inquiry, knowledge creation and the creation of a better society. That's what we need, the skills that you have gained through your study and that you will need to update continually in your working lives. You can expect to be back at university sometime. I'm inspired that the great writer J.M. Coetzee, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2003, is also a member of this university. You've probably passed him at that crossroads I mentioned earlier, even if you were unaware of it. A new research centre was named for him here earlier this year, the J.M. Coetzee Centre for Creative Practice. I leave you with the idea of creative practice as something to take with you as you leave the university for now. A conceptual version of Hub Central, a creative intersection of inquiry, work, learning, dreaming, and changing lives. May I wish you success and fulfilment in all that. Thank you.
On behalf of the graduates and their families attending this afternoon's ceremony, I would like to thank Professor Nicholas Joyce for his stimulating and inspiring address. We are honoured that you've taken the time to join us on this special day to share with us your thoughts and experiences. Your words of encouragement and advice are greatly appreciated. They remind us that education places upon each of us an enduring responsibility to make the best possible use of our talents and to contribute to the betterment of society in whatever way we can. Please join me in once again thanking Professor Nicholas Joyce.
Chancellor, I, Professor Warren Bebbington, Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Adelaide, certify to you and the whole University that the graduates who will be presented to you have all fulfilled the conditions prescribed for admission to the award for which they are so presented.
I, Robert Murray Hill, Chancellor of the University of Adelaide, by virtue of the power committed to me by the University, confirm that each graduate is admitted to the rank and privileges of a holder of the award in the University of Adelaide for which they are so presented.
I would ask you please to observe the university practice regarding applause for candidates to awards. For those receiving doctorates, you are invited to applaud each candidate as the Chancellor greets them. For the other awards, please reserve your applause to individual candidates until after the last candidate for a particular award has been presented. We will, however, understand if enthusiasm overwhelms you. Chancellor, I, Jean Fornaciero, Head of the School of Humanities, present to you graduates from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. To the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for a thesis entitled Beyond the Creative Fix, Towards an Understanding of Creativity's Place in South Australia's Economic Development Agenda, Jane Elizabeth Andrew. For a thesis entitled Rethinking Masculinities and Young Age, Primary School Students Constructing Gender, Claire Louise Bartholomaeus. For a thesis entitled Fuga, a Novel, the Musicalisation of, Fuga, How Music Influenced and Shaped the Writing of a Novel, an Exegesis, Gillian K. Britton. For a thesis entitled The Night Watchers, a Novel, and Breaking English, an Exegesis, Melanie Jane Kinsman. For a thesis entitled In the Shadow of Good Books, exploring the relationship between the writer Jorge Luis Borges and the academic library, an exegesis accompanying erasure, Patricio Eduardo Munoz. For a thesis entitled Living Hip Hop, Defining Authenticity in the Adelaide and Melbourne Hip Hop Scenes, Diane Louise Roger. To the degree of Master of Arts, for a thesis entitled Worthy and Quasi-Medieval Tendencies in High Fantasy, How, Why and Moving On, Joanna Louisa Gerose. To the degree of Master of Arts, Applied Linguistics, Amanda Victoria Jansen. And Ripple Kam Fung Ma. To the degree of Master of Arts, Creative Writing, Josephine Ann Ferns. Nak Tu Wong. Jennifer Liston. Diane K. Loveday. Lee Ellen Nikolic. And Susan May Parry. To the degree of Master of Arts, Curatorial and Museum Studies, Alana Kathleen Frick and Madeline Ann Rees. To the degree of Le Cordon Bleu, Master of Arts, Gastronomy, Ana Luis Cruz Larias. To the degree of Master of Arts International Studies, Dewi Fabri, Mai Fujio, Sarah Grace Harris. Sarah also receives the Diploma in Languages. Lily Marie Kelly Lindquist. And Mark Brian Penniman. To the degree of Master of Arts, Studies in Art History, and Master of Arts, Curatorial and Museum Studies, Catherine Frances Barnes. Alicia Kim Morrow and Cassie A. Young. To the degree of Master of Environmental Policy and Management, Beatrice Pollure. To the degree of Master of Environmental Policy and Management Applied, Dongsi Ya. And Yaming Lee. To the Graduate Diploma in Art History, Victor Yaroslav Kravchik. And Selena Kate Walsh. To the Graduate Diploma in International Studies, Jacinta Ray Morris. To the Graduate Certificate in Art History, Sheena Luang. To the Professional Certificate in Art History, Priya Mitra. To the Honours Degree of Bachelor of Arts, Tessa Jane Hudson. Donna Amy Nichols. Elise Nicole Ruthenbeck. And Carl Henry Vale. To the Honours Degree of Bachelor of Social Sciences, Connie Marguerite Mussolino. Connie also receives the Bachelor of Development Studies and the Bachelor of Social Sciences. To the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Alicia Margarita Alfaro. Jonathan Christopher Allen. Emily Jane Bew. Mary Tully Bradshaw. Nikita Lynn Breaker. Kate Lauren Bulling. Jessica Nababi Basulwa. Bridie Jessica Callahan. Elisa Rachel Chaplin. Elisa also receives a Bachelor of International Studies. Sarah Elizabeth Mary Chinner. Mia Ciccarello. Bronwyn Jean Davies. Jesse Peter James Elcombe. Mark Fitzgerald. Bella Elizabeth Aileen Gibson. Sarah Margaret Harvey. Sarah also receives the Bachelor of International Studies. Halilia Hashim. Tiffany June Hocking. Tiffany also receives the Diploma in Languages. Sarah K. Horn. Amy Kate Ireland. Kirsten Amber Jones. Shantini Karuna Karan. Samantha Georgina Amy Kenny. Miriam Peace McKinley Clinic. Astrid Claire Lane. Timothy Edward Lepoitevin. Hao Lee. Leong Su Ling, Yi Chi Lu, Veronica Ann Lewis, Yi Chi Lu, Nina Munich, Niall Hugh O'Brien. Niall also receives the Bachelor of Media. Sinead Kelly O'Shaughnessy, Amy Alexandra Phillips, Melinda Margaret Profit, Amelia Marie Rockcliffe, Elizabeth Jones Stevens, Natsuki Sumiyoshi, Peter Allen Thompson, Stacey Ann Webb, Munahisa John Yamayaya, Chuchi Yong, who also receives the Bachelor of Teaching. To the degree of Bachelor of Development Studies, Rebecca Russell Gorman, Ellen Louise Griffiths, Cheyenne Suri Holland, Katrina Margaret Pedler, Philippa Catherine Smith, and Peter Barry Squires. To the degree of Bachelor of Environmental Policy and Management, Johnson Un Kieng Kachung. Sean Thomas Clark, Sarah Regina Willems, Xiaodan Zhong, to the degree of Bachelor of International Studies, James Peter Agnes, Lachlan Richard Aird. Lachlan also receives the Bachelor of Media and the Diploma in Languages. Lee Ann Emma Allen. Lee also receives the Diploma in Languages. Ellen Mary Margaret Callum. Ellen also receives the Diploma in Languages. Alana Peter K. Slaverick. Alana also receives the Bachelor of Media. Rebecca Gillian Hiscock. Rebecca also receives the Diploma in Languages. Ganison Kadir Gamanathan. Shiva Shankari Kirupalini. Shirin Michelle Lim Hussein. Kelly Ann MacDonald. Grace Louise Ness. And Frances Dewey Williams. To the degree of Bachelor of Media, Thomas Carnarvon Bilby, Thomas John Carmichael, Benjamin David Downey, Teresa Jane Farrell, Holly Narelle Farrington, Andrew Vincent Forgione, Joseph Domenico Gatti, Courtney Elizabeth Grant, Annalise June Hogan, Hayley Jane McDonald, Eliasa Madeline Rundle, to the degree of Bachelor of Social Sciences, Nicole Buwang Alfalter, Paul David Gunner, Shizuka Ludwig, Alison Kelly Pennington, Tran Phuc Loy, and Michael Peter Zabrecki. To the Diploma in Languages, Lauren Jamie Clark. To the degree of Master of Arts, International Studies, Jin Yan. Chancellor. That's the end of mine.
Chancellor, I, Carl Crossan, Director of the Elder Conservatorium of Music, present to you graduates from the Elder Conservatorium of Music. To the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, for a thesis entitled The Impact of Technology on the Role and Function of the Bass in Jazz, Peter Robert Dowdall. For a thesis entitled, to the degree of Master of Music, for a thesis entitled Portfolio of Original Compositions and Exegesis, an investigation of metrical contradiction, irregularity and ambiguity in music for secondary students and community purposes. Virginia K. Lakeman. To the degree of Master of Music, Performance and Pedagogy, Si-Yuan Lee. And Li Shao Shal. To the Honours degree of Bachelor of Music, Performance, Joanna Hueling Eng. Julia Michelle Norman and Danny Marie Roberts. To the degree of Bachelor of Music, Georgina Chatterton, Keenan Reese Henderson, Matthew Paul Holtzinger, Mandy Jane Hutchinson, Matthew James Morrison, and Vincent Colin Symes. To the degree of Bachelor of Music, Classical Performance, Mariana Grinchuk. To the degree of Bachelor of Music Education, Benjamin James Smith. To the degree of Bachelor of Music Studies, Lorena Jane Levitska and Katarina Maria Wozniczka. To the Certificate 4 in Music Technology, Peter Zajacs.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the mace bearer, the musicians and singer, and all staff and student volunteers who assisted in the organisation and running of the ceremony. I invite you all to light refreshments in the Eclipse function room on level 4 of the Union building on the lower level of the campus. And there's signage to direct you to Hub Central, where photographers, framing and other merchandise will be available. I have great pleasure in congratulating all the new graduates here today. As graduates of the University of Adelaide, you are also its alumni and ambassadors for the university. Over the years since the University of Adelaide was established, its alumni have made an enormous contribution to the community, both here and throughout the world. You have a stake in this great institution because the qualifications it has given you and your experiences while here are yours for life. Your knowledge, friendship, active participation and interest in the university's ongoing development are very important to its continuing reputation and strength. I invite you to stay in contact with us via the online community Adelaide Online, and you'll receive login details and a membership card over the next month. I now ask the new graduates to remain seated and the audience to stand and join me in congratulating the graduates on their achievements. Will the audience remain standing and the graduates now please stand for the be adjourned.